Hello everybody, this is Urban Anna, and in this workshop I'm going to show you how to color one of the pages of my coloring book Urban Coloring. This book was published last year. It has 45 shopfront drawings with their references on the left side, and today we're going to color with watercolor this page. It's a street view from the Provence. I always start with the larger areas in the painting, so they have time to dry. So I take my spray bottle and I moisten the paints, and then I take my biggest brush, that's a size 14, a flat one, and I'm going to start making a puddle here. I'm using some ochre and some warm yellow, and I'm making a large quantity and with lots of water. I will start painting with this larger brush, but I also have a smaller one. This is a size 6, and that one I will use for the smaller areas in the drawing. So I'll start here on top and working my way back down. As you can see, I am painting in large strokes and quite quick. That's because the paint on the paper will dry very fast and you don't want any edges. Don't worry if you think the result is a bit spotty. Walls in real life also don't look very straight. So leave some shadow here, leave some more paint and make it a bit darker here under the pots and like on the edges here. I'll add some shadow later on with some gray paint. Moving on to the left. I'm still using my larger brush and I'm almost finished. So now I'm taking my smaller brush and just paint those smaller areas like there. I waited a bit until the yellow is completely dry, and now we'll start painting the plant containers. I use the raw sienna and the burnt sienna for this, and some Mars brown. For the plant containers I'm using first some burnt sienna, and I'm painting a few strokes on the left and then some on the right, leaving this white space. Then I dip my brush in some Mars brown and just dip on the left some darker paint so it looks like a bit of a shadow. Now I'm rinsing off my brush and like this, and just go slightly over the edges of the burnt sienna, making it a bit smoother. So I'll show you again this close up. Again, burnt sienna, 3 strokes, 2 strokes on the right. Adding some darker paints here on the left. Rinsing my brush and going over those lines to make them smoother. You can move on painting all the plant containers this way, using the same color, but you can use different colors, of course. Next step is the plants. I'm using 3 colors for this darker green, sap green and some lemony green. These 3 are going to create depth in your plants. I'm starting with this little tree, and let's imagine that the light comes from this angle, so we're starting here with the lightest green right on the right angle right above. You don't have to paint every leaf, just go over it, leaving it wet, and now dip your brush in the sap green and go on with the darker green. And the last color, the darker green, is just used here on the smaller part. You can use this method also with the other bushes, but keep in mind that there are flowers, so you have to leave some open space, some white. Again, we're going to start with the lemony green on top, around the flowers, then some sap green, like this, and then ending with some darker green. On the original there are also some larger leaves. Those I'm going to paint with the lightest of green, the lemony green, and I'm going to paint them first so I can let them dry, and after that you can paint like the same way you did the other bushes. So start here with a light green. Take care that this is dry, because otherwise it will leak. So now I'm going to paint with some darker green, and you get a nice contrast now with the lighter leaves and the darker background. So on top of the drawing there are also some plants, also with the green leaves and with some flowers. I've painted those also now. I'll leave them to dry, and now we're going to paint the shutters. I'm using for this beautiful lavender blue. I'm using my size 6 brush for this. And let's start painting the shutters now. So first I'm going to paint the frame of the shutter, not the total, just with one stroke, giving them a touch of light blue. I leave this to dry, and then I'm going to paint this part. Also using this beautiful lavender color. This is a color of a set I bought from Art2Basic. Those watercolors are handmade. So the frame of this one is dry, and I can paint now the inner part of the shutter. And in a later stage we're going to add some shadow of this too. But what I can do is add some shadow here with the blue color, just like this, just a bit behind the plant on the shutter, using this blue color. So the next colors we're going to use is this one. This is a muddy yellow. I used ochre with Payne's gray, and I've made a puddle of Payne's gray. And with these two colors we're going to paint the windowsills and the gate around the door. I'm using a smaller brush, a size 6, and I'm going to paint just below the plant container here, and then there, the balcony. I'm giving it just one layer now, and when that's totally dry I can add the shadow part. So now it's time for the gate here. I'm using this color and I'm painting all the stones one by one. Keep in mind that the paint should be totally dry when you start painting the next stone. That's why I'm painting them one by one and leaving some white space in between. This way you get a nice natural effect. So I'm almost done now. One stone left, which I will paint with this color. And after this, heading up to the staircase. As you can see, I'm painting with long strokes, ending there with the plant, so you can't get any spots. And I'm leaving again white space between the spaces I paint. So the paint on the stones around the door has dried, and now I'm using another color, the Payne's gray, to paint the other stones. So these stones are ready, and now you can paint the white surfaces on the staircase. As you can see, there is no big difference between the colors I used here, but that gives it a natural look. I added more Payne's gray to my brush, and now I'm going to paint the last stones. The top one here, and the part just below the lower part of the staircase. I'll also paint this frame, but not the inner part. I will paint this with another color again. Okay, now we're heading on to the window in the lantern. I'm using this brush, it's a size 6, and my smaller brush, a size O. For this I use Payne's Gray again. And as you can see in the reference, here in the window, it starts dark on top, and then going on downwards, it starts to get lighter. And the way I do this is start dark on top, like this. I rinse off my brush and then go slightly downwards, making a gradual difference. For the lantern, I'm taking my smaller brush and I paint over all those lines and elements of the lantern, giving it first a light shade of gray. When the paint is dry, you can go over it again. We decided that the light is coming from the right, so you can add another layer here, making this side of the lantern darker. In this way you're giving it depth also. Also add some shadow here on the window frames, just on the top and on the left side. You can add a shadow here just below this little ridge, and well, let's put some paint here also on the left side of this thingy on the wall. So now I'll also give this another layer. The paint is dry, so we can give it another layer. Let me see. Here we can also add another layer, and also like in the inside of the stones around the door. Adding shadow gives such a big difference, as you can see. I'll take my size 6 again and dipping it in the darker paint here, and now I'm going to add some shadow below the ridges of the staircase. So now I'm adding more color and I'm going to paint the flowers. I'm using a pink color and a violet color. I decided to give all the flowers the same color, but you can choose yourself, of course. I'm painting with my smallest brush and going from top to bottom, just painting little dots of paint on the white surfaces. So for the pavement you need a big puddle of Payne's grey and some green, some sap green. Just splash it in a large quantity on this area of the paper. It's very important that it stays wet, because after this you're going to rinse your brush, dip it in the green and just smear it in the wet paint. Don't go over this part again with your brush, because the gradient will be lost. You see the result when the paint is totally dry. For the details you can take your smaller brush and paint between the plant containers. I try to work fast so you don't get any lines. So this is quite wet and we have to wait a little bit before it's totally dry. So the final part is the door. I'm making a puddle of burnt sienna for this. Another large quantity, because we're going to work with layers here. First of all, using the biggest brush, the size 14, and I'm going to paint the whole door, including all the details, with one layer of light brown paint. And after this, it has to dry. I'm adding a little bit of Mars brown to my burnt sienna, and I'm now taking my smaller brush and I'm going to paint all the parts that are darker in the reference. With watercolor you never can go from dark to light, only from light to dark. So this ridge and those things that are sticking out, you have to leave lighter and you have to paint around those parts. I have to wait again until this second layer is completely dry. So this is the reference. As you can see, there's a third layer with much more darker parts, and this one I'm going to add now. It's the final layer, and when we finish this, you can see how the layers work and how much depth they can give. So you can look at the reference and see which parts you have to paint the darker color. And this is the Mars brown mixed with the burnt sienna again. So now it's time for the finishing touch, and that is adding shadows. I'm using a light puddle of Payne's Grey for this in my size 6 brush, and if you think it's too light, you can go over it again. As we said, the light comes from this side, so the shading should be on the left side of the window frame or the frame of the shutter. You can add some shading under the plants, on the pots, and like here, another layer under the balcony. Just imagine which part of the drawing would stick out and cast a shadow. Here you can draw a gray line. You don't have to do this because it's already with blue. And just go around and have a look which parts would need a shadow. So if the shading is totally dry, I'll get my Jelly Roll pen. It's a gel pen, a white pen, and I'm just going to write over those metal rings on the door, and like here below, just to emphasize the white. What you also can do is use it for the pots to brighten up some areas. And now we're finished. So thanks for tuning in to this workshop. I hope you enjoyed it, and remember, making mistakes is okay. So keep experimenting, enjoy the painting process, and let me know your thoughts. See you next time. Bye.